All right, what's going on, guys? Dan Watson. And yeah, I know you're probably thinking this is just kind of an ordinary lav wireless mic setup. And let me tell you, this product is actually life-changing. And a lot of people don't believe me until they get one, integrate it in their workflow, and then yes, absolutely, this will completely change so much of what you do for the better. And thankfully, this isn't any wireless mic setup. This is actually the new Comica BoomX D Pro. A lot of words, but at least they make it sound cooler than your typical wireless setup. But I know you're probably thinking, you look at this and you think, Rode Wireless Go 2. And this has actually been my wireless mic setup for the last, I don't know, year or so since they came out. So my big question was, first of all, is this any good? And will it actually be the better one to get than the Rode Wireless Go 2? So let's take a look. So before we get into all the review stuff like hardware and quality and all that stuff, I've got this thing rigged up on my A7 IV and I just want to show you just how life-changing this thing is. So first of all, this isn't just a wireless lav mic setup. This is also an internal recorder on this. And here's how that changes things. So let's say you have a wireless mic setup. However, you want to have some kind of a safety channel in case you start to lose that wireless dropout, or maybe you stopped recording, but something was said. This is amazing because that wireless lav mic will still be recording even if you shut off the camera or lose connection. So not only do you have a safety channel, just in general, you have a safety channel that will always function no matter what. Or maybe you actually just want to record on the lav mic but don't care about wirelessly sending it to a camera, don't want to turn off your camera. You can actually just hit record on the lav mic and that will absolutely do it. The other thing on here is you actually have a headphone output right from this receiver, and that allows you to not only monitor it from here, but just in case you don't have a setup that has a wireless headphone inside of your camera, that is going to be an option for you as well. Now, number 3, these mics are not just wireless lavs. They actually have an internal mic right on the front of them here. So not only could you actually use this as an external microphone setup here, but you could also just hook this onto your shirt, record with this, or Rode makes this pretty cool accessory right here, so you can actually mount this right here. And now you have a handheld mic that not only is sending a feed to the camera itself, but also recording internally. So some really cool options there as well. So life change reason number 4, this actually has 2 transmitters in it, which means you have 2 different channels of audio, even if you've got a camera that only has 1 input in it. Usually you would have to go to some high-end cinema cameras to be able to get that kind of functionality, but now you can get it with a really simple system just like this. And I don't know about you, but I'm always recording 2 levels of audio. So whether I've got a groom and the efficient mic, or whether I've got an interview between 2 different people, it is really cool to have dual channel audio on a system like this. Reason number 5, these also have a safety channel option on them at -6 dB. So if you ever start to peak on any of them, you do have a safety channel that you can enable. Now, reason number 6 is that you can plug in just about anything into these. It doesn't have to be just these lav mics or just using the internal mics. So right here, I've actually got my shotgun mic plugged into this, and then this allows me to also have a second channel that I can be using as a lav mic or just as an internal mic. Also, you can actually plug this directly into a soundboard. I've actually used that to be able to get a wireless feed from the board over to a different recorder. Or USB-C off of these right into your computer, and now you have a more amazing mic setup for anything from Zoom calls to video chats. So yeah, if you heard all that and still don't want to buy one of these, I don't know what's wrong with you, because all that made me want to get a second set. So let's kind of dive into the hardware and quality of these BoomX Ds. So the hardware on these, this is absolutely a winner for me. And if you've ever used the Rode Wireless Go 2s, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about here. But these do come pretty organized in this nice little case system here. I feel kind of bad because usually a groom will give me a mic kind of midway through the wedding after the ceremony, and it'll just get thrown in my bag and tossed around. But at least when I go to the wedding, it is nice and organized into all of these 3 caddies right here. Plus you have all of your cables, windscreens, everything like that are included as well, which is super nice. So the first thing I noticed though is going to be this display. And the main reason I noticed it is because the Rode Wireless Go 2s don't have any displays on the transmitter itself, but on the Comica units, you do get everything. So you have battery life, you have your recording levels, you have your transmitter status, and whether you're recording or not are all visible. Now the downside is these are a little bit larger than the wireless Go 2s. Not a big deal in here. They're still crazy small and not heavier. However, I have noticed that the battery life does not seem to be as good. Comica quotes about 4 hours, and I'm getting a little bit less than that. Still enough for me to get through pretty much all the shoots, and you can power these through USB-C. But yeah, I do wish that it had a little bit better battery life. Also, you have dedicated hardware buttons for virtually every function. And this is kind of a big deal because, yeah, that Rode Wireless Go 2, you have one button on the transmitter and two on the receiver, and you need to use those to access a ton of different functions, which is really difficult compared to these Comica ones because they have hardware buttons for virtually everything you need to change, from levels and everything like that. You also have a headphone jack on the receiver unit itself. Another big difference is you actually have a dedicated record button on the transmitter itself in the Comica units. The Rode, basically, as soon as you turn them on, they are always recording. But with this dedicated record button, it means I can turn them on, monitor connection status, levels, everything like that. And I'm not physically recording until I want to, so my files are usually a bit smaller. Plus, if you're using Comica's lav mic, there is a locking mechanism on the lav mic, so you don't have to worry about all this unit being pulled off. The only thing I will say is this has both a mute button on it and that record button, and there's no lock on it at all to make sure those don't accidentally get touched. I really wish that we had something like that. I've contacted them to see if we can maybe hold down the mute button to lock the entire mechanism so that whoever the talent is that's wearing these doesn't accidentally hit the mute. I've never had that happen, but it is something that does keep me worried. Now, these are also available in both black and white. So if you shoot weddings like me, this is going to be huge because you can get a white unit in case you have to mic a bride, or maybe you have a groom that's wearing a white shirt, jacket, anything like that. So a few specs. So this has 8 gigs of internal memory. This will actually record in up to 2-hour settings. So if you just leave this on for hours and hours on end, it will record 2 hours and then create a new file. The Rodes actually only record 1 hour, and that can actually be a little low for me because most of my YouTube videos, interviews, or even weddings, I'll have this powered on for more than an hour, which means that I have 2 different files for everything that I do. And I really like having that longer record limit. So after that 2 hours, it will just record in a brand new file. Now, this will hold about 24 hours total of recording. And how these units work, same way that the Rodes will work. As you've recorded over 24 hours of material, it will actually erase the oldest file to be able to keep recording that new file. And it basically just keeps resolving. So this is not a bad thing at all. Mostly I use these for backup, but just know that if you're recording over 24 hours worth of stuff, you need to make sure to back up those old files before you start recording again. Now, as far as recording goes, these will have both mono, stereo, and a safety channel at -6 dB option. Now, that's mostly if you're recording with one unit. If you've got 2 transmitters hooked up, basically they record in a couple different ways. So if you set up mono, then both transmitters will actually record onto the same file in stereo, so you don't have independent controls of each one. Basically, you do on the unit itself, but you don't in post. Or if you record in stereo, it will record one of your transmitters to the left channel, one of your recorders to the right channel. That way you can alter the levels of these in post. Or if you do -6 dB as a safety channel, it will still record them just like mono, both of them coming into the same one on the left channel, and then both of them coming into the same one for the right channel, just at that lower -6 dB level. So tons of different options for how you want to actually record these.